You know that feeling when you're talking to an AI and something's just off? Like it's incredibly smart, but it just doesn't get it on a human level? Well, today we're diving into exactly that, the massive challenge of teaching AI about human culture and why it's turning out to be one of the toughest nuts to crack in the entire field. Right? It's a feeling so many of us have had. You ask it something, and you get an answer that's technically correct, but it completely misses the point, the humor, or the subtext. It's like talking to a walking, talking encyclopedia that's read everything but hasn't lived a single day. So what's actually going on here? A fascinating paper from researchers at AI Singapore really just nails the problem with this one simple phrase. They argue that in this huge rush to make AI safe and accurate, what the industry calls alignment, we've accidentally forgotten the very thing that makes communication work, culture. And this one idea, right here, is the key to our whole explainer. Okay, so to really get a grip on this, we first have to look at how AI developers are trying to teach culture right now. Because as you're about to see, the method they're using is a huge part of the problem. So the current playbook is basically to treat culture like a giant spreadsheet. Models get fed these massive lists of information, demographic stats, facts about national holidays, data from things like the World Value Survey. The thinking is, hey, if we just shovel enough cultural data into the AI, a real understanding will just sort of happen on its own. And this is where you can really see the massive disconnect. The AI is being taught to see culture as a fixed checklist of facts. But that's not how we experience it, is it? For us, culture is messy, it's always changing, it's deeply contextual. It's something we live, not something we read off a list. And look, this flawed approach has some really serious consequences. When you just throw data at a model without a theory of what culture is, the model ends up defining it for itself, just based on statistical patterns. And that often means it just spits back simplified, harmful stereotypes. It also completely ignores decades of amazing work from social scientists who actually study this stuff for a living. So the problem isn't just about finding better data. The truth is, the very nature of culture makes it incredibly difficult to capture in ones and zeros. Let's dig into why that is. The paper uses this brilliant analogy, calling culture a fractal. Think about it. A fractal pattern, like a snowflake, is infinitely complex. No matter how much you zoom in, you just keep seeing more and more detail. Culture is exactly like that. You can look at huge global trends, or you can zoom all the way in to a single inside joke between two friends. At every single level, there's this rich, complex system of meaning. You can't solve that by just throwing more data at it. To make this crystal clear, the paper brings up a classic thought experiment from the legendary anthropologist Clifford Geertz. It's all about two physical actions that, to a computer's camera, would look exactly the same. Okay, so on the left, you've got a twitch, just an involuntary muscle spasm in your eyelid. And on the right, you have a wink, a deliberate signal, a little conspiracy between two people who share some secret understanding. Now, mechanically, they're the exact same thing, the rapid closing and opening of an eyelid. And bam, that right there is the entire problem in a nutshell. An AI can easily be trained to see the physical motion, to see the twitch, but understanding the wink, that requires getting the intent, the shared history, the unspoken social contract. It's this deep cultural gap that today's AI just can't seem to cross. So, if the old approach of just feeding it data is broken, what's the alternative? Well, the paper proposes a pretty radical shift in what we should even be asking our AIs to do. The authors call this idea thick outputs. The name comes straight from Geertz's work. A thick output isn't just a factually correct answer. It's a response that shows it understands the deeper context, the hidden meanings. It's an AI that can finally, maybe, start to tell the difference between a twitch and a wink. So how do we get there? The paper says 3 things have to happen. First, we need to stop trying to build an AI that knows everything about all cultures at once. That's impossible. Instead, we need to focus its understanding on a specific context for specific interaction. Second, the AI has to actually be capable of generating these nuanced, thick responses. And third, and this is so important, the AI's answer has to be grounded in the user's prompt, picking up on the cultural cues in the way the question was even asked. This all leads to a really mind-bending shift in thinking. It means that cultural alignment isn't some static feature you just build into an AI and then you're done. No, it's a dynamic process. It's something that happens in the moment during the conversation between a person and the machine. That meaning is created together.
So what does all this mean for the people who are actually building these AI systems? Well, this perspective demands a totally new way of working. Let's take a look at what that is. The paper lays out 3 huge changes. First, we have to totally rethink how we measure success. Simple right or wrong accuracy scores just don't cut it. We need more qualitative methods, stuff from the social sciences that can capture real nuance. Second, the obsession with massive data sets needs to change. We need to prioritize high-quality, context-rich data over just more data. And finally, and this is probably the biggest one, this has to be a team sport.
I mean, this quote from the paper really says it all. The engineers building the AI, as brilliant as they are, can't solve this alone. They have to work hand in hand with the experts who've been studying human culture for centuries. Anthropologists, sociologists, ethnographers. It has to be a true collaboration. So at the end of the day, this reframes the entire goal. We should stop trying to build some all-knowing AI that has a perfect internal representation of culture, because that's a fantasy. The real achievable goal is to build systems that can navigate our messy, complicated social worlds with a little bit of sensitivity and a little bit of respect. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty massive question to think about. Getting this right isn't just some tech bro challenge. It's a deeply human one. If we actually pull this off, what does our world look like when our technology finally starts to understand not just what we say, but what we actually mean?